Harris and the current administration, their efforts, they're still dehumanizing tactics and their refusal to even move on this issue.
It's been that horrific conundrum that has been a gun pointed to the heads of the left for my entire adult life, Zainab, which is you have to vote for the lesser of two evils to prevent your reproductive rights from being taken away, to prevent full-fledged fascism from coming, to prevent the deconstruction of our sacred democracy. And I think that this election really laid bare just how just hollow all of these threats are. I mean, the fact that our abortion rights were rescinded during a Democratic administration and just in general for 2 years almost, the left and a lot of people who have a conscience in this country have been protesting relentlessly against this genocide under a liberal administration that we know now did nothing to pressure Netanyahu's cabinet. Nothing. Not once did they ever go and say ceasefire now. Not once. So it was clear that Trump, probably just for PR reasons for his inauguration, wanted that temporary cessation and massacres. You know, he exerted some sort of leverage because we know that Israel is America's colonial outpost. There, its military garrison in the Middle East to tamp down on independence movements, to basically just protect the fossil fuel infrastructure and to prevent any of America's so-called enemies from getting more power. But so it's just absurd. It's absurd to see what we've been witnessing, Zainab, and it's absurd to see that, Trump doesn't care at all. I mean, he's a completely hollow, empty suit for whatever business interests and whatever he can get in return. And so, Netanyahu's extremely close with him. Jared Kushner personally profits off of the settlement process in the West Bank. We saw that horrific hallucinatory AI video that Trump put out on social media showing his golden head on a balloon, showing Trump taking over Gaza, essentially, with Elon Musk and Netanyahu celebrating, drinking martinis on the beach. It's very surreal. It's a very surreal moment when you have the mask completely removed, where the current administrator of the U.S. empire is just plainly stating, we are going to ethnically cleanse Gaza. Like, this is happening. We're just going to retake it over. What's the big deal? These people are starving. Hey, what? They don't want to come back and just get shot and killed, right? I mean, this is the kind of the state that we're living in, is that reality is almost just too weird to parse through. It's like, how do we decipher this kind of black and like this upside down reality that they're telling us, from the top, when we see the truth with our own eyes? We can turn on the phone, see the reality of the Holocaust, see the fact that I just saw a poll, Zainab, that 60% of Americans are poor. The middle class is non-existent. 60% of Americans they don't have a standard of life, let alone a savings. I mean, this is the country that we're living in. So of course Trump won. Of course he did, because the status quo can't hold. The status quo is death. So Kamala Harris and her cohorts already, the dysfunctionality and the detachment of just everyday life in this country, when you couple that to feeding a genocide that's just mass slaughtering kids, and when you have Biden telling Americans we have to sacrifice at the gas pump to fight Putin, none of that resonates. And so, of course, Trump wins. Trump's the only one talking about legacy media, fake news. Trump's the only one talking about, love or hate JD Vance. I think a lot of your viewers probably hate him, and a good reason, but they were the only ones talking about poor people in Appalachia.
Yeah.
He's the only one acknowledging the fact that there's poor people in this country. So, of course, faux populism and all of these things, they're going to capitalize on the disenfranchised. They're going to capitalize on the people who are truly suffering, and they're going to fold them all into right-wing politics, because you and I both know that left-wing politics, an actual critique on power, which is the capitalist system, is the only thing that really is the threat to power. And so the left's going to be sidelined and blamed every time. And all of that energy is going to continue to be sucked in and siphoned into the right wing. And it's really unfortunate to see, because I think the majority of people buy into the rhetoric. They want the anti-establishmentism. They want populism. They want to fight the oligarchy. They don't want necessarily to punch down and blame immigrants and trans people, but it's easier, isn't it? It's easier.
And when the Democrats have opened the door to the massive dehumanization that we saw with the treatment of Palestine, in Gaza, I said, they're opening the doorway right now to Trump. Stephen Miller is no different than Matthew Miller.
Yes.
We're
Yes.
looking at parallels. This
Yes.
is opening the door for, when Trump wins, because I knew he was going to win, it's going to normalize this dehumanization, and we're going to see it here on our own population. It shouldn't take us that to care, but that's also a part of it. That's also a fact that it is coming home to roost. We are seeing, and we've seen it before. You and I both covered that the terrible immigration policies under the Obama administration, under the Biden administration. So we've had some of these abhorrent policies before, but they normalized the Trump administration going after universities now to deport all these students without due process.
Hmm.
They've normalized jackboot thugs on the street in civilian clothes rounding up people in unmarked cars with their faces covered. The Biden administration normalized this when they were willing to overlook mass atrocities and war crimes being carried out by Israel.
100%. I mean, remember the Obama former advisor, the national security official that was caught at the food cart in New York City just saying, that's not enough dead Palestinian kids. I
Yeah.
want more. And he said it knowing he was being filmed because that's who these people are. The difference between the Democrats and the Republicans, you just lift the mask off, Zainab. It's the same ideology. It's just about decorum. It's about Trump being uncouth and too belligerent. None of them care about Palestinian kids. None of them humanize Palestinian lives. And that is crystallized. That is so clear as day. And it is sick. I mean, what I've come to terms with is I have to realize that my entire life's career has been, if I just could tell people the truth, if I could just educate people, people would care. People would mobilize themselves. People would act. I have to come to terms with the fact that a lot of people not only don't care, but revel in the suffering of others. A lot of people are fascist and actually don't care if children die. Beyond that, they want anyone who's not them to be killed. So it's been a learning, I think, moment for a lot of us, Zainab, in the last 2 years of the collective failure of just humanity at large, but also just what we have to come to terms with about who we live amongst.
Yeah, and you wake up every day and you say, "Oh, I'm only half human to these people. We're only half human." And then you had arguments during the election that were abhorrent. People minimizing Democrats, people that were supporting Kamala Harris, minimizing this, pundits and others saying, well, Trump's going to level Gaza,
Oh,
as
God.
if it hadn't already been leveled, or if one life is saved by voting in Kamala, that's better than one life that is lost voting in Trump, even if we lose 150,000 lives, if one life is saved. It's like, where is your metric?
Yeah, what calculation are you it's like Palestinian lives are non-negotiable to me. I'm sorry.
That's
Like
right.
I agree that Trump is very scary domestically. He's a fascist. He ran on a fascist platform, but I in good conscience cannot vote for genocide of my brothers and sisters. Do you understand that? And how
I
dare
do.
you tell Palestinians and lecture to them that they should have? That's
Yeah,
sick.
the bar's in hell. The bar was in hell. And so why is it so shocking now that we have rampant fascism, that we've
This is
just
what it leads
fully
to.
gone in the direction of rampant fascism?
Exactly, Zainab. When you normalize this kind of behavior, especially abroad. The US empire is a global fascist military dictatorship, actually, and tens of millions of people are living under its boot and suffering every day. And the people who are conscious of that and have international solidarity and have a lens that's a perspective to see outside of our country already knew that. And so we saw the writing on the wall. We knew that the status quo couldn't hold. We knew that the Democratic Party was the inevitability, would pave the way for Trump. And now here we are. We're in Trumpism. We're living the authoritarian nightmare that we all knew was coming. And to your point, I mean, Palestinians are the first, but they're not the last. This
Yeah.
is this is a warning shot, and it's a testing ground For
That's
all of the
right.
surveillance technology, all the Silicon Valley overlords who now curate our reality, all of this is coming home to roost.
Well, Palantir